our souls are different.
Okay.
There is animal souls, there's plant souls. Now, plant souls are vegetative.
Right.
They're called vegetative souls, and would constitute the difference between a tree, a young tree that is growing, and when I cut it, and then it starts to die.
Okay.
There is a difference there, right? This one is growing and is bearing fruit, and this one is not in any way animated, because now it's about to dry up and die. And same case with animals. There is a difference between a dog which is alive and a dog that is dead. It is that sensitive soul. So these are higher, they move up like a ladder. You start at the vegetative souls, then you come to the sensitive, because at least with the sensitive there is sensation, there is instinct. They can make, that soul can make that body move from A to B. Then now you go to the higher one, which is the human soul, which is actually called a rational soul. Now, a rational soul has the ability, or has the facets of the will and the intellect. So this is actually what makes us closest to God. And that's why in the book of Genesis we read that God said, let us make man in our image. Now, God is pure spirit.
Yeah.
We are not, at least in the state that we are in here and now. We have the body and the soul. So, but this soul has the faculties of the intellect and the will, which is similar to the angels in terms of that. Because when you say that you have the will, is that you can will yourself. It is a volitional force. You can say, I'm going to move from here and go to Westlands for this and this purpose. An animal can't do that.
Right.
It only follows instinct. So it also speaks to the fact why, for example, we can suffer guilt and a challenge of conscience, and animals don't. It is because of that intellect and the will, which creates that phenomena, because we are self-conscious and self-aware. If you took a photo of 10 dogs, it would be a very futile endeavor to try and ask one of them to identify which it is in the photo. But you and I can.
Okay.
So that speaks to that self-awareness. So it is this soul that needs saving. Now, as human beings, we have the capacity to commit sin, okay? Which is really, in effect, you are going against a divine law set by God, and you have broken it. Say, for example, in a sin of fornication, you are not supposed to do that, but you've done it through your own choices. So then, what then are these consequences that we are talking about? The first and most important is the separation from God. We have to then, at that point, then we could look at the separation from God from the point of sins that I freely choose to do, and original sin. And what was it like before, and what does the church teach us of what it was like before, and what happened now after the fall of man and through original sin. So, we all know the story in the Bible of Adam and Eve, and how it was put before them. They were given a whole earth, the whole world, and told, so this is yours, to dominate it, multiply, it's all yours. But only don't do one thing. This tree here, the knowledge of good and evil, don't eat of it. And they chose to disobey. Now, before, and why this is a very significant situation, is that they had very, very close union with God. The Bible describes it as that God would walk among them, he'd come and like talk and chat and walk with them. So that just signifies a very, very close union. I mean, it's like best of friends. And we all know how difficult and how painful it can be when your best friend stabs you in the back, as opposed to somebody whom is a stranger.
Yeah.
So that is exactly how you could look at it. Yeah, and hence the consequences of sin and original sin. Because people ask, and I've also struggled with this, why would you, God, punish me through the state of being in original sin for sins that I had nothing to do with?
Okay.
In fact, even the Bible says parents must not be punished for the sins of their children, and children must not be punished for the sins of their parents.
Yeah.
So then how do you reconcile that? It is in this way, and has been developed by some authors, some Christian authors. It is not so much so that it is a punishment in this sense. Rather, it is more in this sense. If a river has a source somewhere on top of a hill, and you poison that source, all the waters that flow from there
It will be poisonous.
will be poisoned.
Wow.
So that was the case,
Okay.
unfortunately. But now Christ did redeem us through his death and resurrection and the institution of baptism.